Welcome back to the Real News Network. We're joined again by William K. Black from Amherst, Massachusetts. He's at the Perry Institute, and he's a professor of economics and law at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. He's a former financial regulator, white-collar criminologist, author of the book, The Best Way to Rob a Bank is to Own One. Thanks for joining us again, Bill.
Thank you.
So if you got, I would guess, a surprising phone call from President Obama, and he asked you, okay, enough, Bill, what should I do? Enough of this criticism. What would you tell him?
Well, first, they did have me do a campaign video for them.
Them being the Obama campaign.
Attacking Senator McCain's role in the Keating Five and his failure to learn the appropriate lessons. But ever since they've gotten elected, they haven't called me or anyone like me, because I've checked, who actually was part of the successful re-regulation of an industry in crisis, which you might think would be a relevant skill set. Nor have any of these people been appointed.
Bill, in that, just for our viewers, you're talking about the savings and loans crisis in the early 80s.
That's correct. So that was, a real-world experience from which lots of important and painful lessons were learned, and they aren't interested in it at all because they're not interested in a real substantive re-regulation of this industry. They want to paper it over and declare success, and go on. I have recently put on, in an interview on the web, the top 10 priorities that I would do. So your listeners can take a look at those. But the types of things that you need to do are as follows. And you can do most of these in parallel. In other words, you can do them simultaneously. You have to fix the too big to fail problem. These are systemically dangerous institutions where what the administration is telling us is if a single one of them fails, they will produce a global crisis. And the way they're handling them maximizes the risk that they will, in fact, fail. So here are the things we should do on systemically dangerous institutions. A, don't let them grow anymore. Because right now, and this is truly insane, we're saying that these institutions that are already massively dangerous because they're so big should get bigger. That's crazed. B, shrink them. Give them the mandatory incentives through taxation and regulation where they have to think of the most rational way to shrink rapidly. C, in the interim, regulate them far more intensively and make them recognize their losses. Segues into the second thing you need to do. Stop lying about assets quality. Make them recognize their losses. Change the accounting rules to be honest again instead of the lying, cheating system that we have now. That fits into the third thing. Executive compensation drives these frauds. It is not tied to performance. It does not align the interests of managers with shareholders. It serves as a device for creating a nearly perfect crime of accounting control fraud. So clean up and dramatically reduce executive compensation. Make sure it is only earned if there is long-term effective performance and that you have clawback provisions if that turns out to have been based on a lie. Fourth, change the regulators. We have Bush's wrecking crew in charge. They don't believe in regulation. And we have Clinton's wrecking crew in charge. Get rid of them. Get rid of Summers. Get rid of Geithner. You can't get rid of Bernanke, but appoint a new chairman, and that will effectively get rid of Bernanke. Get rid of Patrick Parkinson, the head of supervision at the Fed. Get rid of Dugan, the head of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Get rid of the head of the Office of Thrift Supervision. Put in people that believe in substantively re-regulating so that we can fix these problems. And by the way, this is what will allow you to have quick success. Everybody in America now knows exactly how dysfunctional Congress is. If you wait and try to get your re-regulation through changing the law, you're never going to get anywhere with this Congress. And after the midterm elections, that's probably going to be even harder.
So your point here is that this is all things that Obama can do without passing new laws.
That is correct. And this is over a year into the administration, and he has left, in many cases, he's appointed no one, nominated no one. Right? These agencies are twisting slowly in the wind under the leadership of people who were the architects of the disaster, who hate regulation, who don't believe regulation can work. Well, that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure.
What do you make of the argument given in many quarters that the Fed is one of the pillars of the problem and that we need something other than the Fed, for some kind of central bank with a public interest mandate of some sort?
Well, the Fed, of course, is a big part of the problem, but the easiest way to change the Fed is to change who's running the Fed. And there are enough vacancies that Obama could do that and could do it within a short time period and force the Republicans to either filibuster and say that we're not going to allow new appointees to the Fed, just leave them vacant, or push them through, make the Republicans stay and filibuster every night of the year for the next 3 months to prevent any changes in effective regulation. Well, you will have the American people turn on the Republicans at that point if they follow that political strategy. And they will turn with a vengeance. But Obama has to stand for something, in contrast to the Republicans. And right now he doesn't stand for anything. Let me give you a perfect example. President Obama on one day, not very long ago, says he wasn't elected to represent the fat cats, the fat cat bankers. And he says, quite rightly, that the executive bonuses are outrageous. About 2 days later, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is through weird accident, is the only effective regulator, Sheila Bair, proposes a rule to restrict executive compensation. That proposed rule only passes on a 3-2 vote because both Treasury representatives, Dugan from the OCC, Bowman from the Office of Thrift Supervision, vote against cleaning up executive compensation 2 days after the President of America said executive compensation had become outrageous and that he would not represent the fat cats but would represent the American people. So who makes financial policy in America? President Obama or Treasury?
Well, it seems like President Obama makes speeches, but the policy coming from his administration seemed to be something else, which leads to a kind of bigger question, which I think we need one more segment if you're game. Is the problem so systemic, and by that I mean not just systemic in terms of the financial sector, but in terms of the Ponzi integration in the Ponzi scheme of the political system, that measures, as you're suggesting, which seem to be so rational and essentially no-brainers, they seem so obvious that they would be done in the short term, the fact that even these measures can't be done, what does it suggest that people watching this should be demanding, and what should they be doing? So in the next segment of our interview, let's talk about the political malaise and what you think people should be doing about it. Please join us for one more segment on The Real News with Bill Black.